Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, it's a memorable day for Egyptian football as Mo Salah comes out top again. He holds on to his Africa Player of the Year award. South Africa's Thembi Kgatlana is chosen as the Women's Player of the Year. Also, earlier, Egypt trumped South Africa in another area of football rivalry. Egypt scored a big win in being chosen to replace Cameroon as the host for the Africa Cup of Nations later this year. And Madagascar's Constitutional Court greenlights the victory of Ons Radswell in last month's presidential election. He and his rival Mark Ravelman shake hands after the decision, even though Ravelman had filed several complaints of fraud over the polls. But first, Egypt's Mo Salah has held on to his Africa Player of the Year award. The Liverpool star beat Senegalese Sadio Mane and Gabon's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in the Confederation of African Football's annual celebration of the continent's top talent on the pitch. Our Katavan Godestani is in Senegal at the event. She tells us more. Katavan, Salah was far and away the favourite. What was his reaction to Tuesday night's announcement?
Well, Mohamed Salah, when he got up on that stage, was extremely emotional. He first started by remembering his childhood, remembering that as a kid he used to watch those CAF awards himself, and he was looking at all those stars, and he said that he hoped in his wildest dreams that he would one day make it up on that stage. But he said that he couldn't really believe that he had not managed to make it on that stage once, but twice in a row, and that is a huge feat in African football because by winning those back-to-back titles, well, Mohamed Salah has joined three other African legends as the only men who have won those titles back-to-back, and three huge names: Samuel Eto'o, El Hadji Diouf, and Yaya Touré. So this title, this second title in a row, really cementing his place as one of the great African footballers, not only of the year, but probably ever. And it really rounds up a very successful 2018. He was successful with his club, Liverpool. In the first half of the season, he managed to score 13 goals in the Premier League, putting him third in the top scorers list. But he was also very successful with his national team. He is the star of that team, and he was key in bringing Egypt and qualifying Egypt for the World Cup in Russia, something that Egypt hadn't done in many years. He scored 10 goals during that qualifying stage, bringing Egypt to Russia. Unfortunately, he had that serious injury with Liverpool just ahead of the competitions, which prevented him from really helping out his team in Russia. But that didn't matter because he was indeed the best African player of the year again tonight, according to the CAF. And he got a round of applause from the whole crowd settled in behind me in this center.
Now, South Africa's Thembi Kgatlana was voted Women's Player of the Year. Who else won big on Tuesday?
Well, she won big because she not only was named Best Female Player of the Year, she also won the Best Goal of the Year. And it has to be said that the Best Goal of the Year had men and women together, and she beat out some big African stars. So she goes home with two awards. And South Africa, there was a third award for South Africa. It was Desiree Ellis. She won the Best Female Coach or Women's Team Coach of the Year. She was the coach of the South African team. The South African team that went to the final of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations just a couple of months ago, where they were beaten by Nigeria. The other big winner of the night was Morocco. Morocco also going home with three awards, including the Best Youth Player as well as Best Men's Coach of the Year, which went to the Frenchman Hervé Renard. Hervé Renard, who has now won three of these Best Coaches awards in a row. Hervé Renard, who had a very emotional tribute to a fellow coach, Hervé Metsu, the Frenchman who died in 2013, but who was also very famous here in Senegal because he was the coach of that Senegalese team back in 2002. In 2002, when Senegal, the Lions, went all the way to the quarterfinals of the World Cup, their best showing yet at that competition. So he had a heartfelt tribute for his fellow coach to round up the night here.
Thanks very much, Ket Gordestani there for us in Dakar. Well, and some other big news for Egyptian football. Tuesday also saw the country named as the new host of this year's Africa Cup of Nations tournament, scheduled for June and July. Egypt scored a landslide victory over South Africa, who were their only rivals in a vote to replace Cameroon. It had originally been scheduled to welcome the tournament, but was dropped because of hold-ups in preparations and security concerns. Now it's down to Egypt and a race against time.
The Egyptian delegation literally dancing with joy after winning their bid to host Africa's largest sporting event of the year.
It's my pleasure to announce that the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations will take place in Egypt.
A month ago, the original pick, Cameroon, were stripped of their hosting rights when major delays in preparation meant they would simply not be ready in time. Egypt will be hosting for the 5th time and holds a record 7 titles in the African Cup. But despite their vast sports and tourism infrastructure able to welcome tens of thousands of visitors, there have been major concerns over security, and not just because of terror threats. In 2012, fatal clashes between rival hooligans prompted authorities to ban fans from stadiums, a decision only lifted last September.
It's better to know what kind of security you have to do. The specialists of the football security, match security, they are going to work from now with the Egyptian organizing committee, venue by venue, to prepare in the hotels, in the airport, in the stadium, in the fan zone, everywhere.
Egypt have their work cut out for them. This year's Africa Cup of Nations will feature 24 teams instead of the usual 16. And kickoff is now just 6 months away.
Well, Madagascar's top courts announced that former leader Ond Radswell won last month's presidential election. Results have put Radswell well ahead of his rival Marc Ravelman were ratified on Tuesday, and complaints of fraud filed by Ravelman rejected. Nicolas Chemin has more.
There were no surprises from Madagascar's constitutional court. It confirmed the results of the Electoral Commission announced last month. Ond Radswell is the new president. He defeated Marc Ravelman.
Candidate Ond Radswell, 2,586,938 votes. That's 55.66%.
Observers from the African Union and the European Union said they had not seen any major irregularities during the poll. Radswell, who's 44, vowed to unite the country. Both candidates were former presidents. In 2009, Ravelman, who'd been the head of state for 7 years, accused Radswell of instigating violent protests that eventually led to his downfall. The army then put Radswell in power at the head of a transitional government until 2014. Last month, when the Electoral Commission announced its result, Ravelman alleged there had been widespread fraud. These last few days, his supporters have taken to the streets to protest against the result.
They fired tear gas at us while we were praying. We call on all the people to demonstrate with us. This country is going downhill. We are being colonised once again.
Ond Radswell will face an uphill struggle. Madagascar has gold, vanilla and expensive precious rosewood, but most people struggle to earn a living. 76% of Malagasys live in extreme poverty, according to the World Bank. The swearing-in ceremony for Ond Radswell will take place at the end of the month.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Take care.